So, dear friends, on behalf of United Consciousness, I welcome all of you. I'm getting my voice back. I welcome all of you in this wonderful workshop on self-control. We are honored to have presence of respected Sukhdevji here. Along with that, it is the third session on self-control. I also welcome all of the participants from different parts of the world that they have taken out time to attend this wonderful workshop. I will just quote one line from Sukhdevji in the last session. He said that if you go to Mars, you need some special cloth there. Similarly, if you want to come to Earth, you need some instrument. That is Antahakaran, your mind, and Bahakaran, that is your body. And the dynamics of this Antahakaran and Bahakaran leads to self-control or lack of self-control. So that was quite very nice. With many of the thought-provoking things Sukhdevji mentioned. He mentioned two kinds of meditation in the last session. One is being observer Sakshi Bhav, and second is positive affirmations for behavior. Over to you, respected students.
Hari Om and Namaste. Welcome to the third class of the 5-week course on self-control, and welcome all participants. Thank you, Dr. Vikranchi, for the introduction and some short summary of some of the thoughts of last time. I'm happy this time we have again quite a few more participants than last time. Last time was Diwali celebration, so many of you were not present, and last time it was also earlier for the Indians because in Europe there had been a time change, and so we switched, so it's now earlier for the Europeans and the normal time for those living in India. And I'm aware it's also quite late at night in India, so thank you for being present for this time. And even though it's the third workshop, I'll also make it in a way that if you have not been there last time, you can still follow, and I hope you'll get some inspiration or some ideas for inspiration or something you can take with you and practice. And again, if you have any questions in between, you can always write into the chat, and otherwise, if some of you can turn on the camera, it's nice. It seems for this workshop everybody is a little hesitant, but I'm always happy if I can see those to whom I speak to. So thank you, Christine, for turning on the camera. Last time I spoke especially about the thank you, Vivek Uday and Dr. A.K. Jain. Thank you. It's nice to see you and get some reaction on the faces when I speak. Thank you. So I spoke about the 4 parts of the human mind called Antakarana. We are here on this earth with inner instrument, Antakarana, which is basically our mind, and we are with an external instrument, which is called Bahyakarana, which is our body. And I just share the screen so you can see the words for it. Antakarana, the inner instrument, which is different from Atman. Atman is our true self, is the Purusha, also called Satchidananda. So we are the immortal self. And to a certain degree, if you want to reach self-control, it means with yourself, with Atman, you control your mind, you could say. even though the Atman doesn't do anything, but from the Atman, from the depth of your soul, you get the inspiration, and you get the strength and the power to control body and mind, which are your instruments. To a certain degree, you can say we all came into this world with wonderful instruments, the Antakarana, mind, and the physical body, and to a certain degree we learned how to use them, but we only learned to use them in a very limited sense. It's like, let's suppose you got a wonderful smartphone, but like my mother, she's now 89 years old. My brother just gave her a smartphone. So and now she knows one basic function. She pushes one button and there will be telephone. So now she has this wonderful smartphone with which she could do so many things. And so far, she's only learned to telephone with it. And the same, we've had that tremendous mind which can do so many things. And so many things the mind does automatically, and we could do so much more, but we have to learn how to use this mind. And again, also this body with which we can do quite a few things. If we don't use it properly, it will get sick, and we lose body strength, we age too early, and so on. So, but how can we learn to use all of that? We have to have first of all, from the depth of our being, the impetus, the impulse to do it. And that comes from the Atman. So this Antakarana has 4 parts. It has the Ahamkara, which is called the ego maker. Aham is I am. So this means the identification. Second is Buddhi, the reason, the intellect. So it means the free will. And then we have Manas, which is the thinking and feeling capacity. And then we have the Chitta. In this context, Chitta means subconscious memory with samskaras, which is past impressions, and Vasanas, which means desires. So that is how our mind is made up. And last time I suggested that you can actually also use your ahamkara, which is your identification. Like you can identify with different things. You can identify with your emotions, or I feel I'm so sad, or you can identify with your desires. I want halwa, I need chocolate, or I'm a chocolate lover, or I have a sweet tongue, or I'm a sweet person, that's why I need sweets, or I'm an intellectual, or I'm an angry person, that's my character. You can identify with that. If you identify with these parts, then it's more difficult to control your mind. Well, if you want to control yourself in this sense, self-control, you have 2 different meanings of it. Self-control means with the power of yourself, this means the Atman, the deeper self, you control body, mind, habits, and how you deal with others. Or you can say you learn to control yourself. When you say yourself, you mean body and mind and your behavior. So you want to learn to control this. It's easier if you identify with your true self, then it's easier to control body and mind and behavior. So you can also, with words, and you can also change your identifications a little bit. I suggested that last time a little bit. If you have not been there present, you can find it all on YouTube. Or you go to the United Consciousness website. I think there you find the links, or you go to the United Consciousness Facebook page. There you can see the link of last time. So instead of saying I need chocolate, you can say, I am a healthy person, and in me there is the desire for chocolate. Or I also said, desire is, let me just, sometimes I have to find the English words for it. You can say, desire is recommendation for action with energy, so which comes from within. So, for example, if now I had the desire to drink water, like I have maybe a little thirsty, and I could say, well, it's a recommendation to drink some water with energy. Now, normally I have a glass of water here. Today I don't have a glass of water here. So, if the desire is not too strong, then I say, okay, in 40 minutes, there's enough time, I'll drink a water then. So, no problem. So, it's a recommendation for action with energy. So, whenever you have a desire, you can also say, you can speak to that desire. You say, thank you for this recommendation for action. Instead of fighting with the impulse of eating chocolate or of other bad habits, you can say, thank you for the recommendation for action. And then you can follow it or not follow it. Or emotion is information with recommendation for action with energy, like when you are afraid, and let's suppose you have to make some presentation at work, and then you have some stage fright, and the night before you can't really sleep, and then you get the inner impulse, I tell my boss I will not give that presentation. That's the recommendation for action. Or something else, you want to run away, or you can say thank you for recommendation of this for action, and then you say, how can you use that recommendation otherwise? You could say, okay, it's something important, better I prepare. Like normally I'm used to speak in German, so when I give this kind of talk, normally I don't need to prepare. I'm giving lots of talks, but now I'm speaking to an English-speaking public, and then I prepare. I have made some words, I have made some short presentation, and so on. So it's good. There's something in me that says better prepare. There's some emotion and energy with it. Okay, so these are some things which you can do with ahamkara. You don't identify with the parts which come, but you take them as suggestion with which you can deal. Now, when you take that these 4 parts of ahamkara, of antakarana, then you see we also have buddhi. And buddhi is also quite important when you come regarding self-control. And today I especially want to talk a little bit about using your buddhi. First of all, it's important to understand what is buddhi. There's no real proper translation in English. You can translate it as reason, you can translate it as intellect, as free will, but it also has some part of like intuition. It's basically something which human being has and which animal either does not have or only in a limited sense. Human being can think about how can I reach it and so on. And there are different functions of buddhi. The one function of the buddhi is, let me just put it that way. You have different function. First of all, buddhi is practical. It's practically reasoning. How will I get something? Let's suppose I would like to have some water now. And now I can use my reasoning. How would I get it? One possibility is I use my phone and then let's say I just give you some practice to do. I switch off my video and I mute myself. You have 1 minute. Then I either run and get some water, or I call my wife and she will come and bring me some water. She's just in the next room. And so I can think about it. Or today we had a water shortage. That means there was no water coming out of the pipes here in our ashram. So I would but we have several buildings. I could call somebody in another building. So I can practical reason. Of course, we use it all the time to build houses, to whatever we do, practical reasoning. That's what human beings quite often use their reasoning for. In that way, we have complicated things. We think about how to live and how to get what we want. Second function of the reasoning is an interesting one. This is for justification and self-justification. If we do something, we usually want to appear as a reasonable person. So in that way, we justify what we do. There have, for example, been some experiments with hypnosis. You give somebody a post-hypnotic command that afterwards, if I slap my hand, then you will go to the window and you open the window. And if I hit again, clap again with my hands, then you go again to the window and close it. Now if afterwards hypnosis is over, you clap the hand, the person will go to the window and open the window. If you ask the person, why did you open the window? The person will not say, I don't know, I just had the impulse. The person will say, well, it's too warm, or it's sticky, or it's Corona, and during Corona times you have to open the windows. And like now in Germany, we have quite a new strong wave of Corona here. Numbers are exploding, so we open the windows like crazy. And then while the person explains why he opened the window, then you just clap your hand again. He runs to the window and closes the window. You ask, well, you just told me why the window has to stay open. Now you closed it. Why did you close it? He will not say, I don't know, it's just an inner impulse. He will say, or she will say, well, it's enough, the window was open long enough, or I felt that you don't like the window open, that's why I closed it. So quite often we use our intellect to justify something which comes from habit or emotion or desire or whatever. So if you want to learn to control yourself, it's important that you recognize when you justify something and when this justification maybe is not really correct. Like you have a colleague and he doesn't do what he is supposed to do, and you get angry and you use loud words, harsh words, and afterwards one part of you says, that wasn't right, he tried his best and I wanted not to get angry, and then another part inside you says, well, he needed it, I help him, while he sees that I'm angry, that's why he will be better. So you justify a behavior that before you said is not the right behavior. Now come the higher parts of the buddhi, that is the question, what is right? That is like the ethics, and of course health and so on. So you can ask, what is the right way to do? And also the question is, what do I really want? Not what are my habits, but what do I really want? And this is also good to know, or to be aware. That is a part which we say human being has and animals does not have. If a cat sees cat food, it will run there and eat it if she's hungry. If a human being sees some sweets or something, and everything in the body says, or not the body, the mind, it seems that the body, I want it, you can ask, is it right? There are somebody else in the house who would also like to have these sweets. Maybe I'll wait better, that's ethics. Or you can say, well, I decided not too many sweets, I should not have it. Human being can say that and even react on it. Or even dog sees another dog and he doesn't like this dog, he will bark. Human being sees somebody who he or she doesn't like and can bark. Human beings can also bark in a certain, or can say, that's not appropriate human behavior. I will not act upon that impulse. He or she is also a human being. He or she might have done some mistakes. I might have good reason not to have a good feeling towards him or her, but I want to have more united consciousness, not separation. I don't want to act on the separating impulses. So discrimination, that is this buddhi. This buddhi is of course also called viveka. So you could say the higher buddhi. That is called viveka, and that is this discriminate what is right, what do I really want, and of course what is real, and who am I, and also what is true happiness. So these are deeper questions of buddhi. Now, with these, also you can get some practical things. Before you act, you can use your buddhi and you can ask the question, what is right, what is ethical, what is healthy? Also, what are my goals? Now, of course, from a yogic point of view, when you ask what is right, then we usually speak from the point of view of yama. So we have the 5 yamas, and there's first is ahimsa, and the second is satya. The third is asteya, the fourth is brahmacharya, and the fifth is Aparic Raha. So now when we want to use self-control, then of course we need to think what kind of self-control do we want, and then of course we can say these are the types of self-control which are important. So ahimsa means non-violence, and usually we say ahimsa paramo dharma. Non-violence is the most important of these yamas. So we can ask the question, if I act like that, will that hurt somebody? So what is yama? Yama is, and thank you for the question, yama means ethics. You could say The question was also, buddhi, isn't it conscience? Maybe. You can also say one aspect of buddhi is also conscience. That's also right. So buddhi means intellect, means reason, intuition, and conscience from a higher source. So you have ahimsa in the sense of non-violence. So before you act, you ask, will that hurt somebody? Of course, ahimsa means non-violence in the sense we try to violate as few people as little as we can. Even if we breathe, there's some violence to some microorganisms involved. Even if we eat vegetarian diet, something is also hurt. But still, we want to be as compassionate as possible. Satya, of course, means truthfulness. We want to be truthful because we want to come to the highest truth. Asteya, of course, means non-stealing. So not stealing. So we can say ahimsa, non-violence. Satya means truthfulness. Then asteya means non-stealing. Could also say honesty. And then brahmacharya. There are many translations for brahmacharya. When we take it in the context from the context of ethics for all, then you would say it is. Let me just see how you say it in English. It's the avoidance of sexual misconduct. So that's a general. So, for example, if you suddenly have some sexual urge and you're married, then you will not, and it's outside of your marriage, then of course you will control that impulse. You will not just follow in it. Or if your partner just doesn't want to have sex, then you will not force it on him or her. So that is forms of brahmacharya. And then you have Aparic Raha, and Aparic Raha has many meanings. This one of the meanings which is non-bribery. This means you don't bribe others and you don't allow others to bribe you. It has different meanings, but if we now take it as a general ethics, it's important. You don't want to get bribed and you don't want to bribe others. So for all that, you can use your buddhi. Now, apart from these ethics, of course, you have other reasons for you can use your buddhi in the sense of what is healthy. Also, if you have you want to have success in something, then you can also think about how can I have this? Can I have the success in it? Of course, I assume where you want to have success is something ethical, maybe even something which is good for humanity, or at least for some people. And also, you can also think about what will help in the community I'm living, in the family I'm together, what is helpful for my child, what is helpful for my brothers and sisters, and so on. So instead of just acting on your impulses, you use your buddhi to think. And maybe you want to just spend now a minute thinking about what are maybe goals you want to follow, what are healthy habits you want to develop. Is there something where you want to engage and be successful, and so far you found that somehow the way you act and communicate is not appropriate for reaching it. So you can think about, what are my goals, ethical goals, and from the point of view of reaching that, how should I proceed?
You are muted, Sukhdevji.
Okay, yes, and now if we now think about how can we use now buddhi. Now buddhi, what makes the strength of buddhi? Sometimes you want to do something and you know what is right, but there's something against it. Sometimes you say there's buddhi versus vasana. Buddhi means your conviction and what you want to do, and then you have vasana. These are desires or impulses, or you could say you have more tamasic vasanas. This means those who say, it's too hard and I can't and I'm tired and so on. Or you have more rajasic, but I want this, that, and so on. So this famous example, you have decided you don't want to eat too many sweets, and then you go to your favorite sweet shop, next you pass it, and then something happens. Or your wife or partner just puts your favorite sweets on the table. Sometimes I think one function of partners are to tempt us. So now who wins? Will it be your conviction, or will it be your habit, your vasana, your emotion, and so on? So that will depend on a few factors. One factor is the clarity of conviction. If you're convinced of something, then it's easy to put into practice. So it's good to, when you decide something, to be very clear that you want it and why you want it, and also to make a decision. The clarity of conviction, and you could say, and decision. If you say, well, let me see, go with the flow, I'll see how it will go. Well, it's also a way to lead your life. But if you want to have self-control, that's not the way how you do go about. So you have a clarity of conviction and you have a clarity of decision, and then you follow up on it. So if you have something where you want to learn more self-control, right now you can just think about, do I have clarity of conviction, and do I want to be decided upon it? So for example, so far you've meditated sometimes and then sometimes not. You know it's better to meditate every day, but it's somehow not so easy. Then you can say, yes, I know, I'm a spiritual aspirant, I'm on the path of God realization or self-realization. Meditation is important, and I'm going to meditate every day from tomorrow onwards, at least 5 minutes. So you have a clarity of conviction and a clarity of decision. And maybe there's something where you just want to say very clearly to yourself, that's what I want to do. And also, you also say why you want it. The next part then is not questioning after decision. That's when you once made a decision, you stick with it. Of course, there's always limits to it. When you make a decision to do this and that, and then your child has an accident, I hope you will interrupt your meditation. But unless but normally you stick to the decision and you do not question it afterwards. Of course, unless there's something really important happening. Also, you don't need to not questioning, and you could also not justifying afterwards. How you write justifying after decision. So once you made a decision, and of course, if it concerns other people, you also have to talk to them. If it concerns your partner or your colleagues, you first have to, of course, ask their permission or their agreement. You don't want to become a dictator in the name of self-control. But so once, and maybe you have to explain it to them once, but once you decide you stick to it. So if you decided you're going to meditate every morning, and you tell that also to your child, you see, I saw a child in between. Now my examples center more about children. In between I saw somebody where the partner came in, so I say more of that. So that's why sometimes it's good if I see you, then my examples change automatically. So once you decided and explained it, you don't need to justify it again and again. For example, you just stick to your decision. You will not, and if your mind tells maybe once or tomorrow to this morning, and it's dark, and it's too, and my back is this, and so on. So you don't argue, but you just do it. Something else which will be important for self-control is developing willpower. Now, what is willpower? Willpower is the power with which you do what you decided what is right. It's a difference to desire. Willpower is, you could say, it's the Shakti of Buddhi. So the energy behind Buddhi. And some people have big Buddhi Shakti and others have limited Buddhi Shakti. And of course, what determines the Buddhi Shakti is habit. If you have lived a life where whenever you decided something, you'll do it, then it's easy to follow it up. But if you decide something and next day you don't do it anymore, then it's a habit of not doing it. And it will be enforced by your environment also. If you're known to be a person, once you decided something, you'll do it, others will respect it. If you're a person who once you decided you won't do it, then others will have some specific kind of joy by making you not act upon it. Now there was a question in the chat which says, well, do we always discuss with partner colleagues for decision making? Otherwise there are always people to pull us down from any wrong decision. I would say, of course, if something is only privately yours, then you can decide just for yourself. If it's something which concerns your partner, for example, you say, I want to meditate every morning at 6 o'clock. I will get up before you and I will meditate 15 minutes. It's better you discuss it with your partner. And if you have a partner who loves you and you say, it's important to me, normally your partner will say, okay, I'll make it possible. And also with your colleagues, if it's something which concerns your colleagues, it's also important that you discuss it with them. Otherwise, it's egoistic. Then you decide something and they have to bear the consequences. But once you decide it, then you don't discuss it anymore. So if you decided and you agreed with your partner that you meditate every morning at such and such time, and then 3 days later you really have to meditate every day, and it wouldn't be nicer you help a little bit with this and that, or then you don't need to justify it anymore. Then you just say, remember, darling, I decided and you agreed. I'll stick to it. No more discussion necessary. Or if the colleague says, well, you said that, well, I decided and you agreed to it. So no more discussion, no more justifying afterwards. Before decision, it's good to discuss, but once the decision has been made, you stick to it. I have to admit, I belong to the kind of people who have difficulties making decisions myself. So I usually discuss with others, and I discuss, we have in our ashram, we have a democracy, and we discuss, and then we vote on something. But then if it's decided, then we do it. And of course, people always afterwards say, well, couldn't we think about it, and shouldn't we, do we have? And I said, well, in a year we can think about it again. We can put it on the, we once decided, then it stays there. Like also I'm in a few meetings which Dr. Vikrant sponsors, and then we have people from different continents, and we decide on the wording of something. And then he always puts then green, we agreed, and then now smile as they're in these meetings, and then it's decided. And then if somebody says, can we go back to that? I freeze a little bit, said we decided. Okay. But of course, in certain contexts, we have to go back to it also. But normally, once decided, we go to it. In American, you have the slogan, once decided, kill the alternatives. It's a little brutal, but it's in Germany, I translate a little bit differently. Once you decided, don't follow the alternative, don't consider the alternatives. But the American way is clearer. Once you decided, kill the alternatives. And then you develop your buddhi. Now, there are two other things which are important. One is with which do you identify? This I did before. If you identify with all the other, oh, why should I do that, and couldn't I do that, and so on. So with all the afterthoughts you have in your mind, and also it's a question how you deal with your manas, and that will be the theme of our next session in a week. How do you deal with your manas, which will suggest you all kinds of things, and how do you deal with your chitta in the sense of your subconscious. And one important thing is also frustration tolerance. If you decide to do something important, if you are on the path of self-control, there's bound to be some frustration, and you can tolerate it. You will get over it. And how you get over it, that again is a question of dealing with the mind. Okay, short summary and something you can do for next time. Which important for self-control is use of buddhi. Buddhi is intellect, reasoning, conscience, intuition, and also decision. And for next time, you can again think about things you want to do, ethical things, either from the point of view of doing good things, or from a point of view of health, or from a point of view of success, or from a point of view of getting along better with others. Then have a clarity of conviction and have a decision, and in the decision try to get an agreement with those who will be affected by the decision. But then have a decision and agreement and no questioning afterwards, unless something really important comes up afterwards. And follow on these things, and by following up on them, you will increase your willpower, which also means it's good to make small decisions in the beginning, which you will follow up. So it's better if you're not used to meditate regularly, you say, I'll meditate for at least 5 minutes every day. Instead of saying, I'll meditate every day for 45 minutes. If you want to develop your willpower, then it's good you decide on something which afterwards you'll do. Okay. You have any questions so far? Otherwise, we'll just finish with 2 minutes of a small practice, kind of meditation practice. Close your eyes. And we'll say Om 3 times. Om. 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 For 1 moment, go into the depth of your heart, where the inner power is and the joy and all energy. And maybe during this talk there's something which came up where you said, I want to do that. Make a clear decision and say, I will do this. And then you can use some suggestions like an auto-suggestion. I'm looking forward to doing this. I will be joyful doing it. I'll be full of energy doing this. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings attain peace and harmony, joy and harmony. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace be unto all. Satguru Nath Maharaj Ki Jai. Thank you for being there, and looking forward to next time. And again, you can ask questions or write something. Thank you those who asked some questions, and I'm looking forward also to your feedback.
Which are important.
So, Om Shanti.
Thank you very much, Sukhdev ji.
Thank you, Sukadev ji.
And I welcome all of you for one another training program that will be on this 20th of November. And the time for that training program, it is on Life Management Bhagavad Gita Way. In European time, it starts at 5 p.m. till 6:30. In India time, 9:30 to 11 p.m. In American time, 12 to 1:30 p.m. The link will remain the same. It is on 20th of November, Life Management Bhagavad Gita Way, and the topic is Art and Science of Meditation. And next week, same day, we will again meet with Sukhdev ji, continuing the series on self-control. So thank you very much, people from different parts of the world, for being here tonight with us. Sukhdev ji, there is a question if you want to address here from Vivek Rajan in chat box.
This question already answered in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Baba Adnan ji. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Vivek ji, Banu ji. Thank you, Amy ji. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.